What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It is I, your Morphinominal host, Adam Perez. We're back once again with another Ultraman trigger review, episode 10, as we got ourselves a brand new episode here this week that we're going to be diving in for you guys. As always, just remember, these are just simply my A-plus opinions. At the end of the day, though, I definitely want to go ahead and know yours. So what did you guys think about this particular episode? Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. And I got to say, guys, while I certainly enjoyed this episode for maybe some of the awkward senses of humor that we wind up getting in here from the whole Darrgon and Yuna stuff, I gotta say, the preview for next week's episode looks fire. Just the fact alone that we're going to be starting to tackle the concept of a dark trigger really gets me hyped. Anytime we get a dark version or a bad version of any of our heroes, whether that be Ultraman, Super Sentai, Power Rangers, whatever the case may be, I'm sucked in. You've immediately got my attention. So I'm really interested to certainly learn the history about certainly what's going on in that regards. Whether or not they give me more questions or they actually answer some things, we'll definitely see in next week's episode. But I gotta say, this was a very interesting episode, to say the least. Quick shout out to Ignis, the world's finest treasure hunter, or the universe treasure hunter, whatever he refers to himself as. It does make me laugh at the idea that he seems to just randomly pop up or find himself in an episode with like no true meaning behind it. Ignis is just there when you absolutely need him to be, and the fact that he's following around the Giants of Darkness probably shouldn't surprise me, based off of just the bone that he certainly has to pick with some of them. So the fact of him maybe following around a Giant of Darkness shouldn't surprise me, but it still does when I see in here, because I'm just thinking to myself, like, what are his true intentions, right? Like, why is he helping Darrgon try to understand what that feeling is and that emotion that certainly come over him? And it's really Ignis's idea that kind of gives Darrgon that push into the idea of maybe what you're feeling, bro, is love, and love is a very strong emotion, to certainly say the least. So I appreciated at least the push to get Darrgon down that path. But clearly not. If Ignis gave Darrgon any advice, he clearly did not take it, because Darrgon is clearly not the smoothest when it comes to approaching the ladies, as we get to see here in this episode. But I'm glad that they at least went back and focused on it, because we talked about it in the previous episode about, you know, seeing Darrgon at the end really contemplating, thinking about Yuna, trying to figure out what it is that he's feeling. And we kind of hinted at the idea that maybe there was a relationship between the two. Maybe he is feeling love or compassion towards this particular character. So for him to go ahead and actually explore that in this week's episode, I thought was right on the money and really great timing for Darrgon. It is one of those things where I will be fascinated to see where it goes in the future, considering that while he wasn't there to just simply pummel them to death, the fact that he at least gave them an audience and listened to them, saw their interactions, and clearly learned something by the end of this episode, I do wonder if we will see another side of Darrgon. Like, I do wonder if there's an element of him that might actually stand up for the Gut Select team or Yuna at some particular point in time against the other Giants of Darkness, just because of maybe he wants to express that love, for all I know. I have no idea, but the fact that they at least have Darrgon as a villain contemplating more than just destruction and death, makes him fascinating to me, to certainly say the least. So I'll be eager to see where it goes from here. But I got to admit, you know, while I understand he's trying to figure out what that emotion is of love, it was a little bit awkward and kind of cringy at times when he's like, you know, trying to pat Yuna's head, but he's not patting it, he's literally like crushing it, sort of thing. The whole gigantic handprint on the wall, trying to see if he can get her heart to skip a beat, like not quite the type of methods that it would certainly take, right? You're not trying, like, these aren't methods to swoon her or sweep her off her feet so she feels some type of way. Like, you're literally harassing her, my guy. Like the back hug that he gives her and stuff, I'm just thinking to myself, like, oh, that's just nasty. Like, that's sexual harassment as far as I can tell, sort of thing. So it's not like not the smoothest, to certainly say the least. Very much just coming on to her and just like having his way with her. So I'm glad to see that Akito and at least Kengo certainly come to her rescue, because it was certainly getting really, really awkward and just disturbing after a while. But I gotta say, I love the fact that Yuna uses the stun gun that Akito winds up giving her. One of the things that we talked about last week when we laughed about the present was, please, can I just see her at least utilize it, just so I know it's at least gonna come in handy. And the fact that it does in the very first episode, brilliant to go ahead and use it on Darrgon, even though it's probably like a gnat, if anything, if you even really felt it at the end of the day. So I thought that was pretty impressive. But I really enjoyed his storyline here. The idea that he's realizing the concept of love makes people stronger, and stronger in the sense that he says it gives people the strength and will to protect each other. So the fact that you see somebody like Akito, again, while Darrgon certainly looks to us as frail human beings, I think he's also mightily impressed at the idea that despite the odds being stacked against you and how easily you could certainly perish, the fact that you care about somebody enough to go ahead and put your own body on the line, risk whatever it takes to protect that particular person, really does go a long way. I mean, you guys know all the time, right? You hear these crazy ass stories of like parents whose kid gets trapped under something, right? And like they just lift things up. And granted, that's like adrenaline, but it's also a concept of love involved, right? That it makes you stronger, that it makes you really do incredible things in order to protect and take care of somebody that you love. So I love the fact that despite Darrgon maybe not necessarily picking up on how to speak to women properly, the lesson that he at least learns is I can't fuck with you humans, like in the sense of I cannot underestimate you guys, because I've seen you put yourself in some incredible harm's way. I've seen you fight back from incredible odds, sort of thing. Like just the fact alone that Yuna slaps Darrgon knowing that she can be split in half in any minute, right? I think that definitely does speak volumes to Darrgon, and something that he clearly respects, because even Akito, he refers to them as worthy opponents. So I really do love the message that he wind up gathering from them, that do not sleep on these humans, because they certainly will surprise you. And so for me, I'm really hoping that we get a great, whether that be a redemption story or just a moment of clarity for Darrgon by the end of this season, should be great. Like just seeing him use his one finger to catch the monster in order to protect Akito and Yuzari, I thought it was great to certainly see him take that step. And if anything, I will be fascinated if any of the other Giants of Darknesses might have witnessed that and maybe have a bone to pick with Darrgon. Like, are you getting soft on us, bro? Right? Like, what's going on with you right now? So I love the storyline. Absolutely love the storyline. The other character that we definitely have to talk about in here definitely is got to be Kengo. Kengo is clearly having some visions in this episode. When we now have a little bit more of the stone revealed to us, they come to see what they're referring to as the Eternity Core. When he touches the stone tablet, it's like this mini sun, and I feel like we have seen it before in flashbacks that Kengo has certainly had, whether that was him when he first discovered the spark lance or the abilities to turn into Ultraman Trigger. I felt like when he touched him, I felt like that's one of the images that we had seen was Ultraman Trigger in front of the Eternity Core. And so based off of what Akito was able to determine, is that the Eternity Core, it seems as though, or sounds as though, it's certainly on Earth. It was very active 30 million years ago. That's what drew the attention of all the monsters and wind up awakening them back then. And it seems as though it's having the same effect now. It's active once again, and this is why within the past 6 years, we have in fact been getting these monsters attacking Earth, sort of thing. So the Eternity Core continues to grow in great mystery. I really hope that they explain it a little bit more outside of the idea that it's just a high energy sort of element or property. It does look like a mini sun, to certainly say the least. So when he touches it, he sees the Eternity Core, and then we also have another moment when he throws his punch at Darrgon and Darrgon catches it. He has himself another vision, seemingly 30 million years ago, of when Trigger at some point in time and Darrgon were facing off against each other in battle. It certainly seems as though, like, the fact that Darrgon refers to him as an opponent instead of as an adversary makes me think that they never, clearly, if I will say this, either they never worked together and they've always been opponents, or they have worked together at some point in time and something changed and they wind up then becoming opponents. So the fact that Kengo is continuing to tap into these visions, absolutely love what we're getting in here, and continues to just add to the mystery at the end of the day. But if anything, I do love the very end sequence of here, when you think that most of the ancient stone is revealed, there's also another little top corner piece that winds up revealing itself and reveals the idea that there was a fourth giant of darkness by the name of Trigger as well. What does that mean for Ultraman Trigger, our Ultraman Trigger? That I don't know, but I love the fact that the plot thickens. There is a part of me, I am kind of curious if there were two Ultraman Triggers, one that's a giant of darkness and one that's a giant of light, or if Ultraman Trigger at one point in time was a giant of darkness and something compelled him to then change. Like, there's a part of me that wonders if maybe this Dark Trigger character maybe came into contact with the Eternity Core. Like, I'm wondering if that's who we were seeing in the initial vision sort of thing. Maybe he grasped that power instead of becoming the darkness of light, giant of darkness. Maybe then he became more or less a giant of light, and wind up fighting alongside them, maybe acquiring a new ability or a new power, whatever the case may be. So I'm kind of under the impression that they're the same person, but maybe the past Ultraman Trigger had a little bit of a redemption story, if you will, or eventually saw the light. I really have no idea, but I'm here for it, guys. The mystery, I love the drama and the mystery and the little senses of humor that we're getting in here. Quick honorable mention for the humor alone, just going back to that Darrgon and Akito and Kengo moment, like when they approach him and they're trying to save Yuna from him, they're looking at the expressions on his face, and Dargon's like, "Can't you tell? Look at my face. Look how I'm feeling today, guys." And he's like, "What are you talking about? Your expressions, like they all look the same to me." But I love the fact that of all people, Kengo's like, "You know what? Now that I think about it, that kind of does look like a smile." And the one before, he looks like he's kind of in love. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it's the same face. But the fact, like, hey, if Kengo picks up on it, I dig it. Like, even Dargon's like, "Okay, you saw that? All right." It was just super weird to me, but super funny all at the same time. Like, just trying to decipher his expressions based off of the fact that his face does not move, guys, like, at all. So I absolutely love that. But yeah, Kengo stuff definitely continues to be a gigantic mystery to me, and I love all the little pieces that are kind of coming together. But listen, if you guys have any theories in regards to how this Dark Trigger fits into things, certainly go ahead and let me know. You guys have heard my theory. I definitely want to know what you guys think also. And again, because of the fact that I haven't seen Ultraman Tiga, and we have had connections already. I mean, with Shizuma being from that dimension 30 years ago, even bringing the Guts Wing to our modern time, if you will. I do wonder if in Ultraman Tiga, if there was an evil version also, because I do wonder if Ultraman, when I think of Ultraman Trigger, there's a part of me that's starting to view it sort of as a quasi sequel to Ultraman Tiga. But everything that I've been told leading up to this is that this is pretty much Ultraman Tiga, but just a more modernized version. So I do wonder if they still have managed to at least take some elements, clearly with Shizuma and the Guts, the Guts team on the other dimension and the Guts Wing and things like that. So I am wondering and very fascinated to see how they're playing around with the storytelling for this particular series. So we'll see, guys, but Dark Trigger is certainly coming. And then last but not least, I wanted to talk a little bit about the villain here, the monster Zoragus, based off of just the action that we wind up getting. This show continues to not disappoint me at all when it comes to its tokusatsu action sequences. First question I have is, how big are these set pieces that they allow Ultraman and these monsters to fight on? I mean, some of the camera angles and just seeing some of the how much they move around and things like that within the city when they fight. I really would love to go to like one of their studios and just see how big these areas truly are, to have these grown-ass men running around and rolling around and jumping and being thrown halfway across the city sort of thing. I'm just super impressed. Like, whoever the model or the construction people are for these sets, give them a raise, man. The fact that, you know, they not only do these set pieces get destroyed, but they clearly got to put them back together, sort of thing. That's a hell of a lot of work. But I really enjoyed seeing the action here this week. There is a monster that Gut Select is hunting down that's clearly sleeping. Darrgon, in one of his moments of frustration, wind up like stomping his feet on the ground enough to kind of cause a mini earthquake and actually wake up the monster here in this week's episode. An incredible power set. Like, once he actually lost his armor, it's almost like the armor was holding this dude back from his fullest potential. And the moment that armor winds up dropping and he's just got these like blue energy blades and this electricity that just goes all across the city, absolutely loved it. Visually, it looked incredible. But I gotta say, the shot selections in here were great, even when it comes to shots that really focus more on like the model and set pieces, right? Like, there's a scene where you've got like this little car going down this alleyway, it's going and then it stops, and then, you know, the monster busts out of the ground and the car like splits down the, you know, just gets out of the way. Really loved that shot, and was really impressed with the little a creative shot inside of the apartment buildings, like seeing the two apartments right next to each other. So in one room that we're in, out the window you see the monster, and then the camera slides over to the next room and you look out the window and it's Ultraman. I love not only the back and forth, but just getting that particular perspective. And even in the second apartment, the little Roomba machine that's like vacuuming sort of thing, really cool. Like, they pay such great attention to detail that it truly does go a long way for me for just enjoying it, because it just shows the incredible hard work that this production team truly has put into making these fights just incredible. Even getting the opportunity to see Ultraman once he transforms just sliding into the shot, like his first like low kick, it felt like something out of Street Fighter. I couldn't remember is that like a Guile move where homeboy just like slides across the ground with like a low kick or something. That was pretty cool. And then even seeing Ultraman literally thrown across the city in the shot where it like pans overhead and you just see his body flailing until it hits the ground, sort of thing. Incredible, man. And of course, I really appreciated the music also in this episode. I guys, I feel like I can gush about Ultraman Trigger all day long. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if every season is this compelling and incredible or not, but I watch this show and I just think to myself, man, how have I not jumped on board with the Ultraman franchise before? Like, if this is the level of attention to detail that we're going to get. Now, I'm pretty sure each season might be a little bit different, but the sci-fi elements, the incredible action, the incredible music, the incredible drama, incredible supporting cast, really detailed and mysterious storyline that feels very fleshed out and thought out. I don't know if it's like that for every Ultraman franchise, but damn, am I not loving Ultraman Trigger. I truly am, guys. So 10 episodes in, I'm ready for episode 11, guys. Bring it on. But listen, guys, again, these are just my A+ opinions. I definitely want to know yours. And if there's anything that I missed, character moments, storyline details that you guys want to further go ahead and talk about, please let your thoughts be known in the comment section box, and we'll certainly go ahead and continue our conversation there. But other than that, guys, that's it for me. So we certainly will see you guys next week. But in the meantime, do me a big favor as always. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And as always, keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.